5th minute. It's Pablo Fornals floats it in from the left hand side. Great ball in. Oh, it's in the back of the net. Oh, we've scored. And it's Thomas Souček. Let's just make sure that there's no VAR check on this one.
Yeah, we saw him last season. He was starting to make a few errors, and I'm picking up signals coming in like radar love that we may now be West Ham United 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 0.
We've got a VAR check, Pinky. I can tell you that, and I've got a feeling that this might be cancelled because Dawson seems to shove his player out of the way. It's an almighty scramble.
What's it got to do with the goal?
Now, what are we looking at here? Now, are they suggesting on TV that there's an offside? That Antonio's in an offside position?
Look at the left foot of the Brighton player. He's playing him onside.
I think that's what they're checking, is it? I'm guessing that they're not worried about the foul. It looks like it's the offside. Oh, no, it's offside. It's called it offside. Unbelievable. It hasn't counted.
Clear and obvious. Seriously.
Anyway, West Ham have the ball. Masuaku on the left-hand side, just outside Brighton's penalty area. What can he do? Tries to get to the byline. He's done it. Can he get the cross over? And in true Masuaku style, he beats his man and then falls on his arse.
Yeah, he's bringing the ball forward. Beats his man. Yes, does all the hard work. You absolute gem.
Brighton get a cross in. This is dangerous. Oh, it's a goal. And then, oh, no. Oh, there it is. 89th minute.
He scooted past Arthur there. Okay. Arthur's been brought on to do one job. He hasn't done it.
The final whistle has blown at the London Olympic Stadium. 96 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. And West Ham have blown it, I'm afraid to say, leading 1-0. It's finished West Ham United 1, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. 9 games now West Ham have gone without beating Brighton. That's 3 defeats and 6 draws in a row. Just cannot beat the Seagulls. It looked so good after 5 minutes when Thomas Souček scored his first goal since the opening day of the season to put the Hammers ahead from a corner. We thought we'd scored a second 10 minutes or so into the second half when Michael Antonio bundled the ball over the line. Not so, ruled out for offside. Got to see that one again because it looked very, very marginal. And then in the final minute or so of normal time, the substitute Lamptey rolled down the right-hand side, crossed for Mopé, who'd been completely all at sea up until then, couldn't hit the barn door, proverbial barn door, as they say, and pulled out a weldy with something of an overhead kick to beat Lucas Fabianski for the first time tonight and rescue a point for Brighton, who ended the game, of course, with only 10 men. Played the last 5 or 6 minutes with only 10 after Adam Lallana was their third player of the evening to be forced off with an injury. Hugely disappointing night for West Ham on the back of defeats against Wolves and Manchester City. Really needed the points tonight to sustain that challenge for the top 4. It's not been good, and as Pinky's just pointing out, we've got Chelsea, the league leaders, to come on this weekend. Well, let's pick the bones out of that one. Pinky, where should we start? Let's go back to the second half, and the goal that was ruled out by West Ham would have put us 2-0 ahead, and you know, you'd have to say if that had been allowed, we probably would have had the game beyond Brighton at that point. But no, it was cancelled, and you know, we haven't seen it again yet, so we need to see it again. But I think you pointed it out at the time. It looked first of all as if they were trying to check it for a foul, and then it was almost as if, well, let's, is there anything else we can disallow? That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, absolutely, and why look at the foul for so long, and then say, well, that's okay, and then they say, well, we'll look for something else. And at what point do you start trying to identify the second shooter on the grassy knoll and all the rest of it, and say, we can now officially declare West Ham United were the second shooter on the grassy knoll in Dallas '63. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. A simple thing that they could do, a 30-second rule. You get 30 seconds to review it. Yep. If it's clear and obvious, you'll see it in that time frame. Mm-hmm. They're trying to turn this into some kind of scientific precision, something it isn't. The whole point of football is about emotions and moments. And what you want is lots of debating points in pubs. you want to be talking about Russian linesmen 50 years later. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
And what you don't want is to say, I checked my notes from my geometry class as a 9-year-old, and actually VAR was technically incorrect because they were 2.2 degrees out, and my slide rule can prove it. It's utter tosh. 3 minutes to review whether or not a goal was valid or not. Complete
3
nonsense.
minutes. Yeah.
And then to say, half of that time we were just looking to see if it was a foul, but no, we weren't really bothered about that. It was the offside that convinced us, and we're all looking at it going, really? Where? How? And to the point where no linesman would, or a line person would ever reasonably call that as offside. Never in a million years. Would not happen. Okay. And yet, because of the use of technology to the nth degree, they convince themselves, that's, get a grip, and goals change games. And at 2-0, we've won the game, because Brighton aren't coming back from that. At 1-0, it deflates us, gives them a boost. We then have the tactical challenge and what have you when Brighton made their final sub. Moyes deployed his countermeasure. 100% the right thing for David Moyes to do. But his players let him down there tonight. And poor old Arthur. I hate doing this, believe it or not, Graham, because I go from 1 week it's Ben Rama's the bad boy, then it's Yarmo's the bad boy. Arthur, who I've said he's the right guy to bring on in that position to deal with that. He's let his teammates down because if the cross doesn't come in, the goal doesn't get scored. It's that simple. It really is that simple.
And of course, second game in a row, isn't it, for Masuaku? The first goal at Man City at the weekend. Again, the same thing, not out of position so much tonight, but beaten too easily and just showing, how long of West Ham fans talked about Masuaku's defensive frailties. And there we are, fully exposed for all to see in the last 2 games. But what's the answer? What can we do? Cresswell's out. Obviously, that unfortunately taken out of David Moyes' hands. What other options did he have tonight?
Well, there is your answer. What other options did he have? And ultimately, we've had the well-rehearsed comments from the new shareholder, which is fair enough. Okay, but we have to recognise David Moyes has got our team punching above its weight because of squad depth limitations. And we was talking about this after 20 minutes, 30 minutes tonight. About the running out of bodies. We talked about Antonio getting flogged to death, really getting run into the ground. And when tired players play, they get injured. They get injured more easily. And we're just at the start of the Christmas programme. You could say, yes, Cresswell's injury last week, against City is a result of his total commitment to try and, win us the game essentially. So he's not pulled out and he's clattered the post and blah blah blah. But then you start running out of bodies. You just start running out of bodies, and you can see where this story's going to end. It'll be you can see the headlines now. Taken down with the Christmas lights and all the rest, all the old cliches about West Ham that we've suffered over the years. But it's true because the managers are never backed sufficiently to have enough options to compete. We're still in 4 competitions. We're in 4 competitions, and I don't know. Soon I'll have some time on my hands, as you know, and
yes.
And I'll be able to start looking at how many minutes our players are playing relative to their peer groups from other teams. Because we bang on about West Ham, but you just wonder if you look at those top 5 or 6 clubs at the minute that we're in and amongst, which players and which positions are playing the most minutes, and at what point. Maybe we're overstating it. Maybe, I'm making excuses for footballers tonight. But it just seems to me because the manager doesn't have options. He
Yeah.
has to put a player in who he doesn't trust. Let's be frank about this. He doesn't trust him, because if he trusted him,
yeah,
he'd play every week.
he would have been starting tonight, wouldn't he? You've got to say the fact that Moyes put Johnson on the left-hand side, which we know he's played there before, but you know he's comfortable more so on the right. The fact that Masuaku stayed on the bench just says it all, and there it is, and there's the evidence why. We can all see it. The last 2 games, 2 goals conceded. You can't say it's entirely Masuaku's fault. There's a lot of football played in the build-up that everyone can be is culpable for not doing their job, but ultimately it ends at the defender's door, and the most obvious mistakes have come from Masuaku. Again, I still want to see the goal again, mind you, because the replay they showed on the TV when they showed the screen. When they paused it, the player was clearly offside, and the foot was offside. But I'm not quite sure what happened there, because obviously we do the stream here without the TV commentary, so we can't hear what they're telling us. But it certainly looked offside. But it's by the by. The goal's been given. It's 2 goals conceded, and do you know? I'm just having a quick look actually, Pinky, at the KUMB Forum. This is the first time this season I've seen these sort of posts from people being very, very critical of the team. I think, the Wolves game was one thing. We were on a fabulous run. That happens. It was the first defeat we'd had on the road for 7 months, whatever. Fantastic stuff. Man City, you can never be too critical, as you've rightly explained this evening, because it's Man City, quite possibly the best club team in the world. Tonight, that was, I sort of go back to when we were speaking in the first half about possession. Yes, it doesn't matter so much that possession stat, but of course there is that thing where you say, well, it's all well and good not having the ball, but if you haven't got the ball, you can't score goals. And let's have a quick look at the statistics tonight. I'm not quite sure how that finished up. I mean, naturally we're going to be absolutely smashed in terms of possession. I just want to have a quick look now and just see what where are we? Match stats. There we go. In terms of shots. So, yeah, West Ham 34% possession tonight to Brighton 66. I thought it was going to be worse than that, actually. West Ham 14 shots, 6 on target. Brighton 9 shots, 3 on target. So, all right. I guess that makes some. I'm arguing against myself here, but that kind of sort of makes the point that yes, we did do more with the ball, even though we didn't have it. But the point still stands. I think if we'd have had more possession, we'd have more opportunity to create more chances. Kind of random, but you better come in there.
I don't think that necessarily follows.
Okay.
Because that just says if you've got more of this, you get more of that.
Yeah.
That isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
The two are not necessarily linked together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a non sequitur, as the posh people would say.
Yes.
And I can understand why a lot of posters and KUMB, whatever you're saying, well, one leads to the other. It doesn't necessarily. That's the point. But I think people are right to express frustrations, but I think the frustrations would be more targeted on why the manager has so few options that he feels he has to keep playing Mikel Antonio week after week after week.
Yeah.
When clearly he's a little bit leggy at the minute.
Yes.
When in his centre back lineup, he's got two centre backs at the minute. Craig Dawson is playing week after week, and yet our £22 million signing Issa Diop remains on the bench.
Well,
the manager.
I was just going to say, let's talk about that. Yeah, should he have changed that tonight? Should Diop have been in there playing on the left-hand side, his natural side, Zuma on the right? I mean, we did see that one thing where Zuma gave the ball away, playing the ball out straight away, and Brighton had a really good chance for it. But I just wonder, maybe that's not the right combination.
And this is where it gets really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because undoubtedly, if David Moyes had a centre-back who he trusted more than Issa Diop, who, he'd be in there.
Yeah.
And what he's done is he's gone for his 2 best defenders that just about gel together, just about. There's something in Diop's game that the manager clearly doesn't like.
Yep.
Again, we have a chairman who'll be in, he'll be phoning him right now. I've got a £22 million player on the bench. Why is he not playing? Why are you playing that old donkey that started out in Rochdale? Yeah, why are you doing that? What are you doing to me, David? You know, and it'll be, well, Mr. Chairman, it'll be this, that, and the other. So there's something that David Moyes doesn't like in Mr. Diop, because if he did, he'd be, you know, when players get injured, that's the moment then other players get the opportunity. And the fact that Diop is not first in line to come in, even in the event of an injury, that tells you actually he's the fourth choice centre back.
Yeah.
And
Just going to say, I mean, the point is we're having this conversation now. If that goal hadn't been scored in the closing minutes, we simply wouldn't be having the conversation. So I mean, one person you can't criticise, I think, is David Moyes. It's kind of a case of damned if you do and damned if you don't, in a sense, isn't it? You know, whatever he had done, even if Diop had started, we would be sitting here now saying, well, if he had played stuck with Dawson, then we might, you know, we might not have conceded that goal at the end, you know.
Absolutely, and managers as well. I mean, they've got to deal in real world football, not fantasy football that we all deal in.
Yeah,
quite simply, he might have looked at his options. He'll look at his budget and go, "Have I? You know, why do I, as the manager, want to invest so much of my budget in a player who I don't think is good enough to get in my starting 11?
Yeah,
I'd rather move that player on and actually get whatever fee I can for him. And the way to move a player on is to make it clear you're not getting any game time here, son. You still got to come to training every day. You still got to turn up on match day every day. You still got to get into your kit for every game. Yeah. You're not getting on the pitch or whatever it may be." And then when the transfer window opens and someone comes in and they said, "Issa, I've had an offer for you from Burnley. Yeah. Do you fancy it?" And he's going, "Where's Burnley exactly?" And you say, "Well, it's just outside London," kind of thing. You know, Keegan did that with Andy Cole. Right. He said Newcastle was nearer London than Manchester or something nonsense like that, or whatever it was, you know. Yeah, but ultimately, so sometimes even if Moyes doesn't have the down on Issa Diop that I think he might have, it might be just a financial thing that he just needs to shift a player to free up some budget. And managers have got to make those choices, because the chairman's going to sit there and say, "David, we agreed a budget. You went and spent the money on Vlasic. Yeah.
Well,
you know, you spent that money. Don't come to me for any more. You've got a player that you bought that's on the bench every week. Yeah. Don't ask me for more money. You've got to move somebody on." And in all honesty, I think that's fair. You know, I'll criticise the chairman, as you well know, at the drop of a hat, for being a skinflint. But sometimes you have to say managers do need to live within their budgets, within reason. And, you know, at this point in time, you know, Diop isn't trusted by the manager sufficiently to force his way into the first team. I'll be very interested to see who lines up against Chelsea, though.
Yes, it certainly will. Certainly will. I mean, you made the point, just going back a bit, about Vlasic, and that's already been brought up on the KUMB.com forum match thread. Moyes coming in for a little bit of criticism. I find this quite astonishing, really, given what he's done. But you know, this is football supporters for you, I guess, isn't it? You know, the need for instant gratification and constant gratification. It's been a bad night, but I think we've got to put it into perspective. You know, let's look at the season as a whole. West Ham have been absolutely fabulous, and let's not forget, of course, we're still fourth in the Premier League. We've not won in 3 games. We've taken 1 point from the last 9, and we are still fourth in the Premier League. That's because we've been absolutely fantastic. Should we just throw in a few comments from the forum just to have a look and see what our fellow supporters are saying? I mean, Geggsy's touched on the possession thing, saying that if anyone's got 70% possession in the game, they're going to get chances no matter how hard the opposition are to break down. And Dave L says, this run was always going to be insanely difficult with the relentless schedule of games, something we can perhaps talk about in a minute. I'm not happy, but if someone offered me this position at the start of the season, I'd have more than taken it. Reinforcements required in January in January though. WC Pete said that was brutal and fair. We didn't deserve 3 points. This is the wrong part of the season to lose form in. There are too many points at stake from the end of November to mid-January to have a form slide. What's also worrying is the gap in quality between Rice and the rest of the side. It's now glaringly obvious. He needs help. As enterprising, as hardworking as Bowen and Ben Rama are, they're still not top in Premier level. And I think they're both playing near their ceiling of improvement. I'm happy having them both in this side, but they're not going to keep Declan Rice here. West Ham at Lyle style, looking at those results against Brighton.
Objection, Your Honour. Bowen absolutely is top half of the Premier.
I thought he had a really good game tonight. I thought he played really well.
There's not a manager in the top half of the league that wouldn't want him.
Yeah.
Whether or not they could afford him is a different matter.
Yeah.
Whether or not he would be a priority is a different matter. But he is a top player with an incredibly strong work ethic. And, so now I don't know who's written that. I mean, it's all about opinions, but I can't say I'd go along with that one. Yeah.
West Ham lifestyle touching on our results against Brighton. 9 games that is now since Brighton returned to the Premier League in which West Ham have failed to beat them. We go right back to starting in October 2017. We lost 3-0 at home, then 3-1 at the Amex. Following season, Brighton won 1-0. Then there was a 2-2 draw at our place. 2019-20, 1-1 at the Amex, 3-3. Who can forget that 3-3 at our ground when we were 3-1 up? Didn't Masuaku come on when we were 3-1 up that day as well? Was it Diop? I can't remember now. It might have been both of them anyway. You remember the game well. And last season, West Ham 2, Brighton 2, Brighton 1, West Ham 1, and here we are again, 1-1. 9 games, just cannot beat Brighton. They really do have the hex on West Ham. But a couple more comments from the KUMB.com forum. Sticky says that was rubbish to watch. I was exhausted earlier as well. We look toothless at the moment. We can talk about reinforcements in January, but right now that seems a long way away. A lot of our players looking as though they are resigned to being tired. The self-fulfilling prophecy. Time for Vlasic and Kroll to inject some energy. Moyes' loyalty has to end somewhere. Aside from a few really stick fluid counter-attacks, we look pretty poop and a step or two at the pace. Interesting comment, Pinky, from Sticky, talking about Moyes and his loyalty. Maybe if there is a criticism to be had of David Moyes, is it that he is too loyal to certain players? We're talking about Michail Antonio. We're talking about Craig Dawson, players like that. Is that valid?
It's a valid question to ask. Yeah. Is it a true statement though? So it's a valid question, but it's more than a true statement if you get my drift.
Yeah.
Because if we'd won tonight, no one asked that question.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is what we said a few minutes ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
But also, is it loyalty or is it a lack of option? Because in Antonio's case, as much as I'm desperate to see the young lad Perkins get a decent run out, in the hard world of professional football, the days of a Tony Cottee coming on and scoring on debut and all the rest of it, and going on to a glittering career, that's not going to happen in the modern game. It's a different game to 30 years ago, is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
So the manager, no manager is going to take that risk because quite apart from anything else, they don't want to pile the pressure on the youngster. They want to actually bring him in slowly, as we've done with Johnson, and actually as we did with Rice, and actually get them into the first team on a once in a while, then a bit more regular, and then they get a starting berth. So if David Moyes had a viable alternative to Michail Antonio, I'm sure he'd have been giving him a game tonight.
Yeah.
Because he will see what we can see.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
He will, won't he? There's no question about it at all.
The interesting one is Kroll in the middle.
Yes.
Because who exactly would he replace in the team? So that would be my question. So in comes son, but there isn't a West Ham United supporter on earth that's ever been born or will be born that's going to suggest leaving Declan Rice out of the starting lineup, because you're never going to do it. So then you're down to, are you going to leave out the goal scorer tonight, Thomas Souček, and lose that threat and the ability to win the ball in the middle of the park in the way that he does?
Yeah,
so you're not going to
quietly and
leave him out.
efficiently. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to leave him out. So then you're actually looking further upfield, yeah, and you're going, am I going to leave out Benny for Krul? And you say, well, where's the creativity coming from? He's not going to replace him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lanzini's
So,
the best choice there, isn't he? You know.
Absolutely. So you then say, so Krul's not going to get a game because he hasn't got quite enough to replace the players who hold the shirt unless they're injured. That's when he's going to get his moment. And until Rice or Souček get injured, yeah, he's not starting. So again, you could say he's a viable option, but is he a viable option in a part of the field where we need it? And is he a viable option in the part of the field that caused us to lose?
Yeah,
and not lose, but drop the points tonight. Yeah. Ultimately, it's the lack of viable alternative to a left back that's cost us tonight. That's the long and the short of it. Yeah. And let's not forget, Arthur was signed when Aaron had his serious injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the player we signed. Sorry?
Was it Bilic signed him?
I think it was Bilic, yeah. I think it was Bilic. And so he came in, you know, when Aaron was cropped. So that was a direct thing. And because I think the conversation at the time, I think we paid 6 million or something like that for Arthur, you know, and the conversation was, so the stopgap replacement, you know, to the injury cover for Cresswell has cost more than Cresswell, kind of thing.
Yes.
And you know, and yet, for all the good he can do in the opposition's final third, you know, it's a line I use a few times. He's a player that's dangerous in the final third. Yep. Sadly, at both ends of the field, as we found out again tonight. And which you know, he's the left-sided Yarmolenko.
Yes.
In that regard, you know, in the opposition's final third, they look brilliant. In our final third, they're liabilities. And that's why managers don't start these players, because they make the mistake. Yeah. So for my money, I can understand people's frustrations. And the first target is always the manager, because we've all got opinions, what have you. But I think that's wide of the mark. We've run out a bit of steam. We need some fresh legs. Yeah. And instead of criticising the manager, I would say, let's get behind the manager to say, Mr. Chairman, he's spent your money fairly wisely. Correction. He spent our money fairly wisely. We would trust him to go and do it again. So can you just give him the nod? I mean, he's on the telly now. He's got a face like Thunder, David Moyes. I mean, heavens above. It's double. It's double laps tomorrow, lads. It's you know.
Let's have a quick word, because I mean, talking about one of his compatriots, he was for the first hour. We were absolutely cracking up at the antics of Sanchez between the posts for Brighton. And howler couldn't get a hand on anything, and then you can arguably say he's saved that game for them. Two absolutely brilliant, three really good saves in the second half, but the two that stand out for me, the best one was saved from Declan Rice, where Rice cut inside and it was going in the left-hand side. And it was a brilliant save from the keeper, and then he did it again a couple of minutes later to the other side. But it made three superb saves that come out of nowhere. I mean, we talk about a game of two halves. I mean, that was a player of two halves, wasn't it? What an incredible turnaround for him. And as I say, probably saved them a point.
Such a difficult position. Such a difficult position, because, you know, you make an error, the whole world sees it. Yeah. Arthur beats a man, only has to put a cross in and falls over himself. We all laugh, but 10 seconds later, the world's forgotten it. Okay? Goalkeepers, it's shown over and over and over again. And, you know, here we are, 2 years to the day, just about since, or a day past 2 years to the day,
Yeah.
David Martin's star performance at the bridge.
Heroics.
Absolutely heroic stuff. Yeah. So, you know, what is known in the game as a training ground keeper. And I don't know, you know, he's played a lot of games in, you know, sort of third division level. So I'm not going to be dismissive about professional in his position. But he wouldn't pretend he would be good enough to start week in, week out in our first team. But that night, he stood up, he stood tall, was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And we all remember it. We all go, great effort, mate. Great effort. It'll be in West Ham folklore forevermore because of that.
Yeah.
So when keepers get it wrong, they get remembered. You know, Roberto, you know, with the chucking the ball into row net at Burnley and all the rest of it. So Sanchez tonight, he showed on the goal that he conceded a distinct lack of bottle, frankly. We saw big Tommy Souček heading in his direction. So I'm not getting in his way. Yeah. Souček then just has a glancing header, in it goes. But shot stopping, the shots coming from 20 yards, 30 yards. Yeah. You know, he's all over the place. He's you know, the save from Rice. I mean, that was going in. I mean, you're looking at it.
Well, we're just seeing it now, aren't we, on the TV? It's just been rerun. Yeah. Also the save from Antonio, and then you know, that one right at the end. Bowen only. Do you think Bowen should have scored from that one? I mean, he only had the keeper to beat. It's a good save, but you'd put your money on Jared to stick that one away, wouldn't you, in those circumstances?
Yeah, and ultimately, again, you know, I said at half time that Graham Potter will be getting stuck into his players and say, I'm not interested in, you know, it was near, boss. It's, you know, you should score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm the fat guy in the pub talking about professional players earning hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. Yeah. So I'll always temper my comments with that. But when you're talking about the best of the best, which is what we are, you know, I've sat here tonight and told you what a fantastic player Bowen is. Yeah. And he is. He should score that.
Yeah. That's the one area, isn't it, really, that's missing from his game at the moment. Everything else is spotting the enthusiasm, the energy, the pace, the finishing. Not quite there at the moment to be a top striker, which I guess is why he's at West Ham and not, say, Liverpool or someone like that.
Well, no, I think he's at West Ham because actually took one look at Liverpool and thought, we're yesterday's team. We're the coming team. I ain't giving you that one, mate. You know, I mean, no, I mean, I think there's a Frank McAvenny book, wasn't there, that he needs to read, you know, The Art of Scoring or whatever it was. You know, listen, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it.
Yeah.
And it is the hardest thing in the game is to score a goal. Because that's why the very best strikers, you know, get paid what they get paid.
Indeed.
It's that simple. I mean, the hotel, I mean, you know, the conference centre next door, you know, night before last, you know, there were a couple of Celtic legends in there. Henrik Larsson, you know, which, you know, for a couple of seasons up in this neck of the woods, he was banging them in for fun. Yeah. Will forever be a Celtic legend. Yeah. You know, because he did the hardest thing. He got goals. Johnny Hartson was there at the same time. Again, bags of goals. It's what supporters want. But if they all scored, you know, 3 a week, you never would think, well, anyone could do it. Yeah. And ultimately, Bowen should have scored tonight, but his overall contribution to West Ham tonight, I thought, was very good indeed. And
totally agree.
He's in my starting 11 every week, no doubt about it. And if that's misplaced loyalty, well, so be it.
No, I mean, I think you're right. He's absolutely fantastic. I just say that is just the one area where you look at it and you think, you know, if you could improve on something, that's it. You'd expect that Moyes got him over the training ground there, practicing his shooting and coming in off the wing like that time and time again. But you know, we're not blaming it on any individuals. As we said, it's very difficult, this football arc, isn't it? Because if the game had ended at 89 minutes, I'm guessing that none of the things we've discussed in the last half hour we would have touched on. We would have been talking about how well West Ham defended, how we just let Brighton have the ball, and you know we saw it off because of the last 90 seconds. Here we are trying to pick holes in everything. We're not trying to, but that's the way football goes, isn't it? You know, ultimately it all comes down to the result, and the result hasn't quite gone for us tonight. And anyway, so here we are. Something else, we're talking about late goals and results. This is something else I wanted to touch on, actually, Pinky, because not the first time we've done that this season, is it? And certainly not the first time at home. And we conceded the goal in the 90th minute at Man City last week. But, you know, go back to earlier in the season here, level with Man United, Jesse Lingard scores with a minute or two left to go. Level with Brentford, and they pop up in injury time and score a winning goal. It's a bit of a concern for West Ham. Is this, what is it? Lack of concentration, lack of energy, just tiredness? What's the problem? Or combination of everything? What's going wrong there?
Yeah, I mean, all of the above, you know, for my money. But let's not get too down. You know, we're sitting fourth, and yes, it's 1 point from 9, and we can all go, you know, we've run out of energy at the wrong time of the season, etc., etc. Okay. Let's say Chelsea turn up on Saturday and we do them 2-0. Let's just say that happens.
And you wouldn't put money against it, would you? That's the thing.
No, that's the point. Because there's a reason why the whole world watches the Premier League. There's a reason why the other leagues can't touch it. Is because if you're watching Spanish football, the 14th place team isn't getting anything against the 4th place team. You know that before kickoff, generally. Same in the Bundesliga, same in France. Yeah. So the whole world watches the Premier League because they absolutely know that Watford could get something against Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They just know it could happen. And that's why they watch. Yeah. They'll even have watched Wolves against Burnley tonight on the basis, well, you know, someone at Burnley is bound to bang in 5 or 6 eventually. Yeah, but you know, I say it in jest, but the overall standard in this league is high. Yeah, and they're all super fit, they're all super talented, and it's just the finest of margins that makes the difference. So for me, you know, I look at it and I go, we've dropped points tonight because we're at home. I'm disappointed, but you have to review tonight's result in the context of a very good season. And you know, I'm looking at the other scores here now; they're on screen. You know, Saints 2, Leicester 2, Watford losing by the odd goal at home to Chelsea. You know, Villa losing at home by the odd goal to Man City, and Everton. You know,
not losing by the odd goal.
You know, and getting absolutely stuffed at home by Liverpool. I mean, Rafa, it's been nice knowing you, but do you know what, mate? He's under real pressure there now. So if we look at this now, we've dropped 2 points at home against Brighton, our bogey team. But we're fourth. Rafa Benitez, and let's not forget, Everton Football Club have spent an absolute fortune in the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah, they've spent big. Their managers, all of them, have been backed in the market. And Everton are sitting in 14th place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So where would we rather be? So for me, that's how I take it.
I'm going to make you look at the league table still, right, Pinky? I mean, look, there we are. We're still fourth in the table, and yes, we've had a couple of dicky results, but we, you know, it's not something that none of us could have predicted, is it? We looked at this back in October, and we looked at this period, and we saw, yes, Man City. Yes, you're playing Chelsea. Yes, you've got. Well, we didn't know we had Tottenham in the cup at that point, but you know, we knew we had some tough games. Yes, we're playing Brighton. Brighton, the team we can't beat for years. Just can't beat them. Bogey team. We saw, you know, was it 10, 12 games, 12 games, 13 games in December before the new year. We always knew this was going to be a tough period. So that, I think the point is, this isn't any surprise. This shouldn't be surprising to anybody. We've got one striker, and the problem is, yes, he's been magnificent for the first 3 months of the season, and he's looking really off the boil at the moment. Said Benrahma, magnificent for the first 3 months of the season. I'm very surprised if he's in the team on Saturday now, given that what we've seen tonight and in the last couple of games. But you made the point that we just don't have the options. But yes, I mean, let's, you know, you have to look at it as a whole. 14 games played, 24 points on the board. The only 3 teams that have done better: Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, clubs with vast resources. And we're ahead of clubs like Leicester, Tottenham, Manchester United, Arsenal, clubs traditionally, we'd be trying to keep it with Everton, as you just pointed out. When you look at West Ham's peers in the Premier League, it's always Everton and Newcastle are the two that we're sort of put on a same level as, and you can see how much better we're doing than them. So yeah, it's really frustrating tonight. I mean, we felt it, I think, as much as anyone. We're all West Ham fans at the end of the day, and it is really frustrating. But I think the point is, let's just take a chill pill, calm down, and look at the overall situation and see where we are. There are things that we could do better, perhaps. I mean, individual mistakes have cost us. Antonio, not at the races, conceding late goals, but we've done all right, haven't we, overall? And listen, I want to put a smile on your face. Wolves Burnley, you mentioned Wolves Burnley, that thriller at Molineux tonight. I'm going to give you the XG stats for the expected goals of both teams. Wolves was 0.74 and Burnley 0.25. So I've not seen the stats for that particular game, but I mean, it could be worse, couldn't it? Or at least we had a couple of goals and something to get excited about. I mean, there can't have been much cheer down in the Black Country this evening.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, come on, we're fourth. We're fourth with 14 games played or whatever it is.
Okay?
Yeah. What do we want or expect? Seriously. And the disappointment tonight is we're playing against a less fashionable football club, with one that we all perceive has got fewer resources. Although I'm not convinced that's true when you consider the money that Tony Bloom has poured into Brighton and Hove Albion. So they've been well backed financially. We just perceive them to have best resources, and therefore people think, well, we should beat them and all the rest of it. You then roll in the bogey team stuff that gets into all our heads and blah, blah, blah. And that just amplifies the disappointment. But you have to view the season as a whole and say, we've topped our Europa League group. Okay.
Yeah.
And we've qualified for the next round. Mm-hmm. We've beaten 2 top teams to get through to beat, hopefully soon, another quite decent team in Tottenham Hotspur in that competition in the League Cup. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're 4th in the Premier League. Yeah. With a positive goal difference. Yeah. Of about 8 or 9, something around that zone. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the only 3 teams above us, 2 of them are owned by, all 3 of them are owned by some incredibly wealthy investors who have spent, in fairness to Liverpool Football Club, in the last 3 years, they haven't invested all that much. So, they are almost, I think, a net seller over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but they have invested at times, in 70-odd million pound goalkeeper, for goodness sake.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would, if you're going to spend that sort of money on a goalkeeper, you're a wealthy football club.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're 4th. And beneath us, Arsenal, the so-called self-styled Bank of England club. Tottenham Hotspur, owned by, multi-billionaire Joe Lewis, ultimately. Yeah. Manchester United, New York Stock Exchange. There's an awful lot of money sitting beneath us in the Premier League at this point in time. And I would say, stick behind the team, stick behind the manager, see if we can persuade the chairman to sign us 1 player, maybe 2 in the window, just for fresh legs, a few options for David Moyes. But I wouldn't get too downhearted because we've dropped points at home with Brighton. Disappointed, but at the end of the day,
of course.
4th as we head into the Christmas programme. How often does that happen with West Ham? 4th bottom's our traditional place.
Yeah, but it's like that old adage, isn't it? Would you have taken it at the start of the season?
Yeah,
of course we would. Of course we would. No one would disagree with that. And as we say, that's the thing I think we really need to concentrate on. David Moyes has been talking about the game. Very, very frustrated, as we pointed out earlier. as you would expect, having seen, the more points dropped in the closing stages. This is what he had to say very briefly. He says, talking about the second, or the goal that wasn't, I don't think we're in the game to chalk goals off. My understanding is that it came off the back of Duffy's leg, which would constitute a goal. Whoever did it must have had a very, very clear picture. I found that decision very difficult. So David Moyes clearly very, very upset about that decision to rule out what would have been West Ham's second goal, and the one that would have clinched almost certainly the points for the Hammers. Thomas Souček has also been speaking on social media. The Czech midfielder says, it's frustrating for us. We wanted to win. I'm really happy to score the goal, but I'd immediately change it for the win. Thanks for your support anyway, and we'll see you at the next game on Saturday. Thomas scoring his first goal since the opening day of the season in the 4-2 win at Newcastle. David Moyes is going to be really annoyed with that, isn't he? I mean, I suppose he'll be looking back now at the key decisions in that game. Yes, the disallowed goal. And I still, I don't know about you, I've not seen it since, Binky, but, the 3 or 4 occasions on which we did see it during the game, I still couldn't see why it was disallowed. And I'd like to see the Brighton one again, because we saw the steal and it looked offside. But you can understand why Moyes is really, really frustrated, off the back of that, can't you?
Absolutely. Ultimately, as much as I've spoken about Antonio being tired and we need fresh legs and blah, 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 undeniably tonight, 2 VAR decisions have actually determined where those points have gone tonight.
Yep.
And I don't think that in either case a conclusive proof was shown to us TV viewers, that we're watching. That we could all say, fair enough, we've got it there. We haven't got that. We see plenty of VAR reviews where you do just that. You see the VAR, it was a foul, or he was offside.
Yeah.
I couldn't see why our goal was disallowed at all. Yeah. Their goal, I'm less concerned than you in that sense. But our goal, it was 100% a case of we're going to keep looking for a reason to disallow this goal till we find something. And I think sometimes, having spent a minute and a half looking at the foul, it's a case of, we better find something, because you know what, we need to justify our existence. We need to find something in there.
Right.
Yeah? And it's, they've just kept looking and looking and looking and looking. Now, it might be in the protocols, for all I know, and this is where we misknown. And is he out of that? Is he out of prison in New York yet? Is he?
I don't know. I think he's been taken ice skating tonight. I think he probably got told off.
All I'm saying is, that Maxwell trial is going on over there. All I'm saying, why is he in New York City at the same time? Yeah,
uncanny, isn't it?
But it is uncanny. It is uncanny. But I probably said something highly illegal there. If anyone's lawyers are watching, that was just a.
We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out. The final edit. Moisey cheesed off. We're all a bit cheesed off, but in the immediate aftermath of the game, it's understandable. But I'm sure when we all wake up in the morning and look at the league table, we'll all be a little bit happier again.
Yeah, and I don't know if the protocols and VAR state that every goal is checked, and every goal is checked specifically for offside.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a protocol that says that is what you do, which is why they've done the foul, and then they say, okay, there's no foul, but the protocol states we've got to check for offside.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then I stand corrected. Yeah. But if that is the case, that isn't what VAR was brought in for. It was clear and obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's clear and obvious, it doesn't take 3 minutes, does it?
Yeah, I mean that's ludicrous, isn't it? To wait that long, it's crazy. And I think we read the comment, didn't we, from the Brighton Forum, where somebody said that if it really takes that long to determine whether it's offside or not, then surely the decision has to be no, because as you say, it's not an obvious offside. But anyway.
Okay, I mean, obviously you're a happily married man. You've never done the Tinder thing, okay? All right. No one spent 3 minutes looking at a Tinder picture, going, "Do I swipe left or right?"
I wonder what you're talking about there. The app.
Yeah,
you're talking about the dating.
Yeah, absolutely.
App, apparently. Yeah. Yeah.
clear and obvious. You're swiping left or right within 2 seconds.
Right.
That's clear and obvious. Clear and obvious takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah? Not 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying.
true. It's a
Yeah.
very good point. I like it. I like it. Let's look ahead. Big game this weekend. They're coming so thick and fast. It's almost as one finishes, we're preparing for the next, and that's certainly the case. It's Saturday or Sunday are we playing? I've not even looked.
Saturday.
Saturday. West Ham United versus Chelsea.
Early
Top four
kickoff,
clash. Is it the 12:30? We got the lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah. I mean,
what do you make of that? What do you? I mean, does Antonio dare David Moyes leave Antonio out? Does Said Benrahma start? Does Cresswell come back into the team? Does Diop come into the team? What a dilemma.
I mean, let's okay. I mean, first up, let's start with the opposition. For my money, Chelsea are romping the league this year. They're romping it.
You think they're better than Man City?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think on form this season, I think they are. You can't score against them. So as soon as they score even one goal, you've lost. You're done for, because defensively they're incredibly well organised. They work unbelievably hard. They've got players who are good enough not to make silly errors. They're coached well. They've got a depth of squad, which means if you don't perform, you're out. Yeah. Which keeps the players hungry, because every player wants to play every minute.
Yeah.
For me, they are 100% the form team of this season. And yes, with the home side, but I'll take a point right now. A win against them would dwarf anything else we've achieved this season. They're a fantastic team at the minute, Chelsea. And it pains me to say that, because, you know, till a certain Russian gentleman turned up, they weren't as big a club as West Ham, nothing like it. Yeah, they might have had aspirations and wanted to be the West London West Ham, but they were never going to do that. His money's transformed that football club. And Abramovich, say what you like about him, he appointed a former player as manager. He took a chance. It wasn't working, and he didn't hesitate. And by all accounts, Lampard was a favourite player of Abramovich. Okay, and why wouldn't he be? He won plenty of trophies for Chelsea, but it wasn't working out as manager. Abramovich didn't hesitate. You're going, son. They bring in Tuchel. He wins from the Champions League, from a standing start. None of this, I need a year to settle in. None of this, I need £1 billion to spend. He knew the brief. You get the Chelsea job, you win the title or you're fired. That's the rules of the game there. A bit like, I don't know, the way Real Madrid tend to do things, whatever, in Spain or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they've got a manager who's at the top of his game, players who are at the top of their game. They too have goals from all over the pitch. Being no doubt about that. So you look at it and say, undeniably the toughest game of the season. Toughest game of the season. I don't think there'll be a whole hatful of goals in it. I think it'll be one goal either way that wins it.
Okay.
So if I want a point, I'm hanging on for a 0-0. So you can keep your Wolves against Burnley's tonight. I'll settle for a goalless draw at home against Chelsea, purely because that would be a good result. And that's how you look at things. You say 1-1 with Brighton, not a good result. 0-0 with Chelsea would be a good result.
Yeah. It would be so very West Ham, though, wouldn't it, to lose to Wolves and be held at home to Brighton and then, to beat Liverpool and beat Chelsea. It's something that we've done time and time again over the years. And we've had some decent results, haven't we, in recent years against Chelsea. I did a post this morning. It was the 9th anniversary of Sam Allardyce's West Ham beating Chelsea 3-1 at the at the bowling, and we've had some good results. So who knows? Who knows? You know, you can never say. That's the beautiful thing about football.
And don't think that won't be in Chelsea players' heads. You know, none of this, lads, it's only West Ham. It's lads, it's West Ham. And you know what they can do. Yeah. And if the players don't think that, the traditional Chelsea supporters, the ones that were there before the Russian, they know, they absolutely know, they'll be coming across and they'll be going, if we're going to drop it, we'll drop it here, because you just know leading West Ham, innit? That's the conversations. That'll be the conversations in the pubs over on, the King's Road tonight. It'll be West Ham, never easy, because they can always do something. And who knows? Against what I'm essentially dubbing the champions elect, it might inspire a few of our players to say, do you know what? We can play a bit as well, Maybe it's a time that, the young player comes through, makes a real name for himself, gets 10 minutes into the game, gets the goal.
Yep.
Why not? So if we knew the result beforehand, none of us should ever go. That's the whole point. And whilst I think, I'll settle for a draw, it's not often you'd hear me say that. That is how much I think this is a good Chelsea team. I think they are fantastic at winning games of football. I'm not convinced I'd want to watch them every week, but they have got a winning mentality, and that is a real big thing with me. When you know how to win, it just becomes habit forming. So I think if we get anything, that's good. If we get a win, who's after Chelsea? Who have we got? Is it Arsenal? It's Burnley, isn't it?
Is it Burnley? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, actually.
Zagreb at home.
Yeah. But in terms of the league, I mean, they're just coming thick and fast, aren't they now? After Chelsea, we've got we've got Zagreb, and then it's Burnley and Arsenal, 2 away games. Norwich after that, we'd fancy that one now. 4 games unbeaten themselves, and then of course it's Tottenham, the final game before Christmas. Southampton, Boxing Day, away to Watford on the 28th, New Year's Day at Palace, and 2 games that you can't really predict how they're going to go. And then of course we've got a couple of weeks off until we face Leeds. So it's the old adage, isn't it, about there are no easy games in the Premier League anymore. That's absolutely the case. But I think you're right. I mean, in terms of the difficulty, shall we say, this weekend is going to be up there with any of them. Perhaps, I mean, I think for me, I think last weekend's game was probably our toughest one of the season. I think for me, pound for pound, I think Man City are just slightly better than Chelsea. But, we're talking about minimal difference. They're absolutely top class sides, 2 of the best club teams in the world. And to get anything against either of them will be a massive bonus. But, I guess the thing is, if we do lose this weekend, that's 1 point from 12. And, then you sort of, I don't know. Let's not get too despondent. The fact is, I'm looking at the league table now. We're still 5 points clear of Brighton, who we played tonight, who are now 7th. 5 points clear of 7th, and we only, taken 1 point in 3 games. So just goes to show how well we've been playing up to now. Anyway, one more thing before we call it a night, Pinky. Man of the match. We've not touched on that yet. Who stood out for you from a West Ham perspective? Tough one, isn't it? Tough one. We've already named him my choice anyway. We spoke about him earlier.
I'd probably. No, I mean, I'd probably go with a Bowen, somebody like that, because I don't think anyone was outstanding tonight.
No,
but I think again, for a player that puts a shift in every time he puts on a West Ham United shirt, never stops trying, keeps going, has got a fantastic attitude. Bowen for me tonight had a decent game. We weren't quite at it. We weren't quite good enough tonight. But the key for me, 2-0, we've won the game. We've dropped the points because of a dodgy VAR. It's that simple. And if I was David Moyes tonight, I'd be shaking my head, because unfortunately for the players, however much he says, don't look at the league table, don't read the papers, and for God's sake, don't watch your Eyes Up Mother Brown. particularly you, Yarmo, because I tell you what, you'd go into retirement straight away. However much he says all of that, players do read the papers.
Yeah,
they do look on social media.
Indeed.
And Yarmo, I know, is a big fan of the show.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
we know.
So they do all that, and he's got to get it out of their heads that actually it's 1 point from 9. Don't be thinking it's 1 from 12. Get thinking it's 4 from 12. Yeah. And get thinking it's going to be 7 from 15. And get thinking it's going to be 10 from 18.
Yeah.
Because his job is to get them back on the positive track. It's the sort of thing that, you know, if time prevailed, allowed, you'd have a quick mini break somewhere in the sun. All the players would jump on a plane for 2 days and come back, bit of sun on their backs, rejuvenate. The price you pay for being in the Europa League, you miss that kind of opportunity. When there's a gap in the calendar, you say, right, we've got 5 days, let's go do something. You can't do it. And that's what makes it such a tough extra competition to be in. But the manager, he's got just a couple of days now to get it out of the players' heads that we're in a dip. It has to be, we're not in a dip, we're fourth. We're fourth. Let's cement our place to the top 4 on Saturday. And we can do that if we beat Chelsea. Because if we beat Chelsea on Saturday, we will remain in the top 4. It's that simple. Yeah. And that's the mindset he needs to get into the players' heads.
Yeah, absolutely right. Great way to end the show. West Ham v Chelsea, 12:30, Saturday lunchtime. Join us on Eyes Up Mother Brown, if you will, if you're not doing anything else. So we'll be back for another game. Hopefully, there'll be one to cheer. 3 points. Who knows? You never know. It's been a disappointing night as far as West Ham are concerned. The London Olympic Stadium. 1-0 up after just 5 minutes. Brighton 2 players off, injured. We thought we'd scored a second at the start of the second half. Oh, it wasn't to be. Disallowed by VAR. And then VAR didn't do us any favours in the final minute when Mope stepped up to score a bit of a weldy and rescue a point for our nemesis, Brighton and Hove Albion. 9 games now without a win against Brighton since they returned to the Premier League. My thanks going out to my main man tonight, the Pink Palermo. To everyone who's joined us on the live stream, thank you for your company. As always, we love reading your comments and your contributions. And join us now after on the KUMB.com forum. Come on and have a chat about the match on the match thread and also anything else to do with the club. I'm sure there'll be a match thread up for Chelsea very soon if it hasn't already been done. But yeah, that's about it from us tonight. 1 point from 9 for West Ham, but still 4th in the Premier League. We're still doing pretty well, aren't we?
We're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm regularly on the general discussion page. There's always someone who's got some information, so I love it. Yeah. It's great.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.